Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Sports Talk here at the Sun-Gazette office. I'm Sports Editor Jon Gerardi, alongside as usual the Dr. Chris Masse. Let's just kind of get into it here. We got a lot from last week for football going into this week. Obviously, the story of the week was Loyal Sock upsetting Southern Columbia on the road in Catawissa. Masse, you were following along at your game at Jersey Shore, kind of keeping one eye on the game, one eye on your phone to keep track. I was following in the office. And Loyal Sock there led at the half, and when, at halftime coming out into the third quarter there, Southern Columbia kind of responded right away, went right down the field. And I think you and I both were on the same page thinking, all right, Loyal Sock kind of poked the bear here and kind of got Southern a little mad. And then, Jalen Andrews responded right away for Loyal Sock with a kickoff return right after that. And it kind of set the pace there and kind of set the tone that, we're not going to, kind of be intimidated by Southern. And, I feel like that kickoff return was just a huge momentum shift to kind of strike right back from Southern after they kind of opened the third quarter there with that touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I said in the Jersey Shore press box when they scored, I said they ticked them off. I used another word instead of ticked off. They're in trouble now. And Andrews changed everything, kind of like he did against Hughesville the week before, taking the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. And Sock just dominated from there. They controlled the line of scrimmage, which almost never happens against Southern Columbia, and they beat Southern at their own game. They controlled the ball. The offensive line allowed Davion Hill to run 29 times, get 176 yards. And that was a game changer with Andrews, but I feel like that was definitely a turning point, but I feel like Sock already had that belief, and they were confident in the game plan, and they were playing a good, clean game. They only had 2 penalties, no turnovers, that they just weren't going to be denied, and they opened a lot of eyes, mine included, because I think nobody outside that Loyal Sock locker room honestly believed they were going to win that game, and to not just win, but to thump them by 17 points, that was eye-opening.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't like it was just like a fluke win where they happened to get like you said, to win by 17 against Southern's a huge statement. And Sock kind of, led in pretty much every sort of facet in that game and kind of dominate, if you will, Southern, which is easier said than done on paper because no one really dominates Southern and beats them. And and they did it obviously. Ryan Glunk's out, so they don't have their top receiver, and to still be able to do what they did. How much of a statement do you think Loyal Sock was able to make last week?
That was a monster statement. That's one that was felt throughout the state. Southern 5-time defending state champions, number 1 in the state, and to thump them like that, I think a lot of people are noticing Loyal Sock football a lot more this week than they did last week. And they moved up. Loyal Sock moved up to number 5 in the state in the AAA state rankings. I just said state twice. I could have been briefer there. But that's why I'm a writer and not a talker. But they sent a message, and they got another tough game this week. But they let it be known that I think whatever happens, even when losing a superstar player like Glunk, they believe that they can, strive for greatness and achieve greatness this year. And this gives them the belief, moving forward, that I think they're going to believe they can beat anybody and do anything because they're one of 2 teams that's beaten Southern Columbia in the regular season in the last 11 years. That has to give you a ton of confidence.
That's just a crazy stat too. That's mind-blowing. You think someone at some point, like a Mount Carmel or anyone would have been able to just get one on them at some point during the season, but
it's not like Southern Columbia is playing patsies every year.
Exactly.
They're playing great teams, and it's Loyal Sock was the first team since Montoursville in 2014 to beat Southern in any capacity in any game. It's mind blowing, and that has created a lot of anti-Southern people, I think, throughout District 4. So. Loyal Sock had a lot of fans, and there were a lot of Loyal Sock supporters Friday night.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned it a little bit there that they go from Southern to another tough opponent this week in Danville, and the schedule doesn't get any easy there for Loyal Sock going back to back like that. Just talk about kind of, I guess they're at home. It also does have a home game this week, but Danville is 3-0 as well, and just talk about how tough of a task this is going to be for Loyal Sock this week.
I touch on this in the End Zone Extra this week, our previews, that it's almost unprecedented that you can beat Southern Columbia one week and then honestly say we've got an even tougher game this week, but I think Danville is better than Southern Columbia. they've outscored their first three teams 179 to nothing. So that's pretty darn impressive, and they've got a lot of starters back from last year's district championship team. Carson Persing, Julian Fleming's the only player in District 4 histories that got better receiving numbers than Carson Persing. They've got two good quarterbacks. Ty Stauffer, their running back, is a workhorse. He's going to Army. Mason Raups, a two-time All-State linebacker. So they're loaded, and Loyalsock and Danville split 2 games last year. Danville beat them in the playoffs. So everything that Loyalsock did right last week, they're going to have to do again to try to beat Danville.
And I think, we kind of mentioned it a little bit in the office the other day, but, Loyalsock's line has been playing really well this year up front, and that, helping not only the passing game, but Davion Hill in the running game. How big has their line been this year for them in terms of being where they're at right now?
Massive. I think a lot of people, me included, thought that was the key coming into the season. When you have great skill players, now Glunk's out of the equation now, unfortunately, but when you have Tyler G. and Davion Hill, who were both all-state players last year, and now you see Jalen Andrews emerging as quite a weapon. The skill players are there. If you can block for him and give Tyler G. time to throw, there's a good chance that good things are going to happen for that offense, and that's what they're doing right now. They made a statement at Berks Catholic in the opener, and when they can clear the way for Davion to run for 176 yards and almost 30 carries, that's a statement that this line's doing pretty well right now. And if that keeps up, they'll be tough to beat.
We're going to shift here. You mentioned how much Danville's been outscoring their opponents, but Jersey Shore is making scoring touchdowns seem like it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Let's just talk about Jersey Shore's offense. I mean, their offense has been solid the last few years, but this year it's like they've just cranked it up even more on the offensive side.
It's rare is the occasion when you can score 63 points and say, well, maybe the offense was slacking this week because they scored 70 the week before against Lewisburg. So, I mean, they're averaging 62.5 points through 3 weeks. It's crazy. And they're not playing lightweights. They played Pottsville, who's a good 4A team. They met in the state quarters a couple years ago. Selinsgrove, they played in the district final last year. Selinsgrove allowed 14 points in their first 2 games. And the Seals were missing some key players. I get that. But to quote the great philosopher and trainer Mickey Goldmill, when he was talking about Clubber Lang, Jersey Shore is just a wrecking machine right now. They go so fast. They're almost scoring points as fast as they run their plays, and they just come at you with so much depth. I mean, Tate Sechrist in the backfield is trucking kids, and he's not a starter in the backfield, and they've got so many weapons. The line is playing great. It's a fine oiled machine right now.
And 2 weeks ago when they played Lewisburg, I remember following along on Twitter, and I saw at one point it was, they scored 70 in the first half, and I was like, that has to be a typo. There's no way they put up 70. But sure enough, and it's unreal how, like you said, how not only how fast the offense is, but how much they're just scoring points, and just putting the pressure on your. If you're the defense going against Jersey Shore, you have the pressure put on you within those first few drives.
Yeah, and you don't want to get behind Jersey Shore as a team. Their defense is every bit as dominant as their offense has been, if not better. And if you fall behind by 1 or 2 scores early, it just feels like you're facing an almost monumental task trying to come back to them, and it just puts pressure on both sides of the ball for the opponent. And it's funny that, I think it was the fourth quarter or so, I mean, Shore was still moving the ball. They're emptying the bench in these games. They had 3rd, 4th stringers in there, 9th graders in there, and I heard one of the Selinsgrove fans said, well, take your starters out. And there was another Jersey Shore people. We did. These are our 9th graders. They're building an awesome program there that, Southern Columbia is in a league of their own in terms of what they built, but it just seems like they just roll them off the assembly line every year at Jersey Shore. It doesn't matter who they put in there. They know what to do. They're trained well at a young age, and it's fun to watch right now. They're the thing, and
it kind of goes off their motto of tradition never graduates, because they keep churning out great players.
They live it, and I wrote about the column this week about I left out one of the H's. They call it the 3 H's: healthy, humble, and hungry. And obviously they want to stay healthy, but the humble and hungry. It was like the players I talked to after the game, Cooper Peacock and Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Zach Rooney, a dominant two-way lineman. It's like talking to the Patriots when Brady was there, with Belichick having them trained to say all the right things after the game. And they weren't impressed. They were the only ones not impressed with their 63-0 win over Selinsgrove. And that says a lot there that they still believe they can get a lot better. And they can get a lot better, which is scary, but that they're not getting caught up in the hype of what they're doing says a lot about why they're doing what they're doing.
Let's touch on the defense a little bit. You mentioned. I mean, they held Selinsgrove to negative 14 yards of total offense, and like you said, it's not like Selinsgrove's like a a small 1A school. They're a really solid team.
They're a good team.
To hold a team like that to negative 14. I mean, just talk about that defense and just how dominant they've been.
It was unreal, and like I said, I know Selinsgrove was missing some people, but even at full strength, they would have had a really, really tough time with that defense. It's literally whenever Selinsgrove snapped the ball, it was like there was nobody there. You just saw a horde of orange jerseys swallowing up ball carriers and getting after the quarterback, and quarterback never had time to throw. There might have been some receivers open, but he's never got a chance. He never had a chance to spot them. They're freakishly quick. That when you watch them warm up, there's nobody that you look at and go, "Wow, these guys are huge." There's nothing like that, but they're just so physically strong, and they're so quick. They're so disciplined in what they do. Alex Jackson's a guru as a defense coordinator, and it's a tall order. They had a backup quarterback in there, and I felt for him because those guys, Jersey Shore was on them right away. And this week at Shikellamy, they've got a freshman quarterback, and I can only imagine what he's going to think when he sees them in that 5-2 defense lining up and just coming after them. I mean, wow, that's going to be tough. I wouldn't want any parts of that. I'd be making a lot of. If I was playing, I'd be making a lot of business decisions when I'd be playing Jersey Shore. And, whoops, I tripped over my feet. I'm down on the ground.
Let's kind of go into the games here this week. We got, you got the old shoe game this week, Montgomery at Muncie. When I did the cover story for the magazine, I talked to Weston Pick of Montgomery and Ross Iyer from Muncie, and both of them said it doesn't really matter when the old shoe game is in the year. You throw out the records because it's the rivalry game between those schools. I guess just talk going into this one. What do you think is going to be kind of the key to this game? What they said is true. They showed in the district playoffs last year when Montgomery nearly pulled off a huge upset and ended up losing in the semis, 14-13. This is a much different much younger Montgomery team. They lost most of their starters from last year, so Muncie's a clear favorite here. I think Montgomery has to find a way to lengthen the game, so to speak, keep Muncie from opening up a big first half lead. Try to build some confidence and see if they can sustain some drives. They can't turn the ball over. That's going to be tough against Muncie, so. We'll see. Montgomery's coming off a nice win over Kawaneski Valley, so I think they have some confidence coming into the game. And Muncie is rested because Sarah's gutless, and with 28 players couldn't have a football team this year. So Muncie, even though Bucktail
with 18 players, and Montgomery has 25, and they're all young. So I could rant about Sarah's being gutless all day, but. Getting back to Muncie having that week off. It could be good in a sense that you're rested. It could be bad in the sense that they're rusty. So Montgomery, I think, has to try to take advantage of any rust that they have and try to hit something early to see if they can hang in there against a really good team.
This week Montoursville's at Central Columbia. The Warriors had a big win there last week. Winning with, I think, 7 seconds remaining, basically. Yeah. And, Coach Mike Bowen's out battling cancer. They kind of had that emotional win for him. How much do you think that kind of that type of a win, an emotional win, a big win at the end of the game like that, do you think that's going to help carry some momentum into the game this week?
I think it will. I think it should. They're dealing with things that a lot of kids don't have to deal with in terms of their coach, fighting this battle with cancer. And to be 2-1, it says a lot about their resilience because they did last week was an impressive comeback, and they did it against Wellsboro in the opener when they were down 14-0 at the half and won. So they're digging deep to win some games and showing some pride. And I think honoring their coach, he's fighting. So they're fighting as best they can for him, and I think that'll help them going into Central Columbia. I think they're the favored going in, so I think they have a lot of confidence and a lot of belief, and they know how brutal their second half schedule is. So I think there's a sense of urgency to say we've got to win these games that we're favored in right now. So I feel good about them going into that game.
Another one here to touch on. Warrior runs at Hughesville. The Spartans lost just a really tough game last week to Bloomsburg there in the finals with that fumble recovery touchdown Bloomsburg had to run back to go up 18-14 to win it. But Hughesville, they're playing teams tough like that. That game against Bloomsburg, Aiden Bartlett's playing really well on both sides of the ball. I guess how going into that game, Warrior Run is 0-3, but do you feel like this is kind of going to be kind of an evenly matched game between these two?
No, I think Hughesville's a big favorite in this one. I think Hughesville is a better. They're 1-2, but they're this close to turning the corner, and I think once their offense gets going, I think they have a chance to be a really good team. Their defense is playing great, and they showed that in the Loyalsock defensive performance really looks impressive now, considering what Loyalsock did to Southern Columbia.
Yeah,
they held them in check better than Southern did. So right now it's a matter of minimizing the mistakes that doomed them against Bloomsburg and trying to get something consistent going on offense. Like you said, with Aiden Bartlett, I think they found a weapon there. I think if they can get the running game going.
Bartlett was it a pick and a fumble recovery?
Yeah, two interceptions, a fumble recovery, and eight catches for 130 yards and a touchdown.
Not a bad day.
He was pretty good. And I guess I should have been. I don't want to dismiss Warrior Run like I did when I was like, no. But they're one of the youngest teams in District 4. They're fighting a tough battle right now. I think for Warrior Run, it's a chance for them to get something positive going and maybe be in a closer game than they have been, because they already have played Muncie, who's one of the better teams in Class A in the state, Mount Carmel, who I think has a chance to win the AA state title this year, and a Hamburg team that's 3-0. So Warrior Run's certainly been battle tested, so it might be closer than I think it was, than I think it's going to be, but Hughesville's a definite favorite.
That'll do it for Sports Talk for us. Make sure to grab End Zone Extra this week on Friday. Massey breaks down all the area games.
And realize that, once again, I'm ahead of Gerardi in the picks.
But it's by 3 games?
Yeah, well, yeah. Usually I let him get off to a head start. But it's like, you know what, I'm going to bury him this year.
We'll see.
It's like the Boston Garden with all my title banners. I think it's up to 12 or so. I'm losing track.
We'll see, though, this week. It's early this season. It's early in the year, though. Yeah. I'm only 3 out, so I'm feeling good about it.
There's a lot of time for you to fall away back more than that.
So make sure to grab End Zone Extra on Friday to see all the games we're going to break down. And then, of course, in Friday's edition, final scores, or Saturday, final scores and all that. So anything else you want to add about how you love Kyle Shanahan and the Niners?
Oh, God. What a joke. But there's not enough.
Not enough time to get into that.
There's not enough time to go into how mad I was on Sunday. That was a disgrace, and Kyle Shanahan's a disgrace, and I'm on record for that.
And that's where we're going to leave it this week for Sports Talks, guys. We'll see you next week.